We're back.
We're here. Goku's in the house. Got to hold him or he's going to bark.
That's it. I think you're doing that to get more likes. That's not fair. We have 4 of them here. I'm going to go grab one of them.
There you go.
Wait, after a bunch of weeks with you were traveling, you've done a lot of stuff. You went to conquer another physical challenges. I'd love to get into it today. And traveling, I have construction at the house and multiple real estate things going on. So luckily, we were able to get back on the bandwagon here and do our thing.
The fact that you're bringing that up just really highlights how much has really been going on. I don't see that because, like you, you're living in it. You're not thinking about it. It's just another day. But holy moly, a lot has happened since our last episode.
Yeah, a lot of crazy things. I mean, we're experiencing some nutty things here with a couple transactions I'll share with you later. And no, everything's good. But the most important question is everyone that you love and care about healthy and happy?
Yeah. Right now, everything's really good. How about you?
Same here. Everything else doesn't really matter.
Yeah, nothing else really matters.
Everything else has a solution one way or the other, right? But at the end of the day, that's what really matters, because if those that we love and care about are not healthy and happy, then what's it all worth, right?
Yeah. You know what I'd like to say, though? Welcome to the Primo Real Estate Podcast channel, and I'm happy that you're all here with us today. My name is Jerry Pujals in the beautiful Napa Valley with my amazing cousin, Carlos Salazar, located in
Miami, Florida. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we're always pumped to be here. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be informative, sometimes intuitive. And it's a good time. It's a very selfish endeavor, to be quite honest with you, because we do this first and foremost. It helps us spend time together, and we're aligned on so many different things, especially professionally, that we had thought when I visited Jerry back in for his daughter's wedding. We were for
the second time in 6 months. You couldn't get enough of Napa.
It makes me a partial Napa resident. Can I vote in California, by the way, by being there twice in 1 year? Is that a thing?
That you want to, but we'll leave that alone. It's all good.
That's awesome. But yeah, so I think it's a great opportunity for us to have some bonding, some cousin bonding, talk about the thing that drives both of our families financially, which is the world of real estate, right? And hopefully impart some information on those that are watching. And if they don't like the information, they can just leave. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You can stay.
Please stay, because I think there's going to be a lot going on today. We got a lot of ground to cover. And one thing that we left out of our title would be one simple word. And that simple word is
unleashed.
Thank you. This is an unleashed channel, meaning that we're going to speak our minds. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on, what we're experiencing, and through our lens, which is the lens of someone who is in the trenches every day of the real estate market. One topic before we dive too far, I don't want to leave out that we're going to get into the topic of insurance. I like to get a little bit into the topic of insurance because I think it's a pain point across the country that is going to continue to more than likely get worse before it gets better. So I want to make sure that we touch on insurability and some of these properties, especially properties located near high fired hazard areas. I want to talk about defensible space. What does defensible space mean to you? And some tricks and tips that we can give you to hopefully overcome that hurdle and get the better insurance quote that you're going to hopefully achieve in your real estate transaction.
Now let me tell you, that's super on point. Insurability is something a lot of people do not think about, right? When they purchase a home, they just think, hey, we found we have a contract and we're going to sign it, and that's it. Everything is gonna be good, you know. And I think that it's super important for everyone to be cognizant that insurance is not a guaranteed thing, and depending on where you live in our nation, it's going to be different requirements. Sometimes insurance is going to be easy, and we both have natural disasters to deal with. In South Florida, we are always dealing with hurricanes. And in Napa, you're always dealing with fires, right? And so there's that dichotomy is a real thing and poses a lot of challenges, not only to be able to get insured when you buy a home, but it poses challenges for the seller, right? Because, you know, if your buyer's coming around the corner and they can't get insured, what do? You know? So Jerry, give me a little bit more context of what happens in Napa and what are you experiencing right now? Because we were talking about this week. We were talking about this week about what you were going through with the insurability of certain properties and what a challenge Susan was having to get a insurability. So give us a little context on that.
So I thank you. I appreciate it. And I think one thing that I want to highlight for everybody is that this is not just local for Carlos or local for me. This is nationwide. You know, insurance is based on an average. So the insurance companies have been taking a hit from things that have occurred in the West Coast, and they've been taking a hit from things that have occurred in the East Coast. And then there's the Midwest, where there's tornadoes and other things and catastrophes like that that have impacted the insurance companies' bottom line. And that being said, unfortunately, the states that don't have a lot of catastrophe or a lot of situations are also, again, unfortunately, paying for our situation because it's based on national averages. So insurability and cost of insurance is going to affect everybody across the country. I've been in this business for 25 years, and I've never felt this the way it's happening now, but I've been hearing about it over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. One of my best friends is an insurance broker over here in Napa Valley. He has a ton of experience in the space of insurance and deals with all the major carriers. And she's been predicting this for a long time. She's been seeing things slowly, gradually getting more challenging. And with that being said, as they say, the chickens have come home to roost. So in Napa, over the last 5-6 years, we've had several major fires, and surrounding areas have had fires that have wiped out literally entire subdivisions, entire areas, entire zip codes. And for that, we're all paying dearly. I recently sold one of my properties. In the last couple of years, I sold a property where the fire came 1 foot of the home, and I was lucky enough and fortunate enough that the firefighters were able to catch that before it just, made that property go away in less than 5 minutes, because that's what it takes for these houses to, once they catch on fire in the middle of a forest, it's engulfed and it's over very quickly. So I want to make sure that, and I promise you that we're going to talk about some tricks and tips and things that you need to do to hopefully not only protect yourself, but also make sure that you're working with an agent that understands how to navigate this, and make sure that you're working with an agent that has the right resources and the right contacts to be able to make sure that you have a fair shot at getting reasonable homeowners insurance. The other thing that we do deal with, just to start framing this for you, is we deal with a lot of cash buyers. And there are times that cash buyers get overzealous and want to buy even if they cannot get homeowners insurance.
Yep.
Carlos.
100%. Yep.
And we can't force anybody to get a homeowner's insurance. We rarely want to be involved in a transaction where somebody wants to forfeit homeowners insurance, because we've had the phone calls of past clients who have lost their home, and it's probably the saddest thing that you can ever experience, outside of losing somebody in that property. So with that being said, working with us is going to require, and for us to align with the client, it's going to require you to want to get homeowners insurance. If somebody wants to forfeit that, it's probably not in our model to work with people that want to forfeit that. You can do it. You can, do your own thing. We, right now, one of our agents is working on a transaction that's over $10 million. And that buyer is possibly going in without homeowners insurance. But I guess if you're worth over $1 billion, a $10-12 million loss doesn't wipe you out. So it's all relative. We have clients that are buying properties in the $500,000-$700,000 range who can't, even if they're buying cash, they can't consider going out without homeowners insurance, because that home is the largest portion of their portfolio. If they lost it and didn't have insurance, they would be wiped out. So
Jerry, let me ask you just to jump in real quick. What do you feel, what would the scenario look like if this client you're working with didn't have that net worth and they needed to have that insurance? Otherwise, that loss would be significant for them. How would you approach that in this specific scenario? I'm just curious.
The one thing that we do really well is sit with things like that, and consult the client in a way where even if we can't convince them to get the homeowner's insurance, we bring other advisors into a conversation, whether in person or in Zoom, and really explain, and maybe by storytelling, explain some of the stories and how this has happened. And unfortunately, it's becoming more likely to happen than it ever has before. So we want to express, lead with statistics, and just really help them make the decision that really suits them best. At the end of the day, for what, if you're buying something at 10 or 12 million dollars, or if you're buying something at $300,000, insurance is relatively inexpensive compared to the loss of that property. So I just don't see buying something without insurance. I have heard of it. I just have not had a client go that way. And for me, fortunately, Carlos, people like that are willing to take risks at that level usually don't align with us, and I think that's okay. But to answer your question, if we've done all that and you still did not want to get insurance, as long as I made sure that I've covered all bases and educated the client, and you still want to go forward with that, then I'm going to have to tell you, it's your call. You can do whatever you want. I actually work for the clients. It's not like I can tell the client what to do and force them to do anything, but I'm going to want to make sure that they're highly educated by the end of the process.
Yep.
And if they did not want the education, let's go a step further. They did not want to hear it. Then if they did not want to hear, we probably wouldn't align. I probably would not take that transaction or work with that client.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought up the insurance topic today, because we had a client a while back that we found a farm for them right in Ocala, which is the center part of the of Florida. And it was a beautiful farm, and they wanted to go do the entire, be off the grid, have cows and farm animals, and just and live in that scenario. And it's a beautiful setting too, right? So they were being financed, right? And what happened is that the home didn't pass inspection, and the insurer would not insure it unless they repaired the roof. And by repair, I mean replace the roof. So it was uninsurable at that time. So they had a choice to make. Either, number one, the seller was not going to fix anything. Number one. Number two, they didn't want to risk paying for a new roof repair before closing on a property, because you're really fixing the roof or replacing it for someone else. And if something happens, that's gone. So they actually went to contract, and they closed with the roof being an exception in the insurance policy. So they did get partially insured, but the roof was the exception, and they did that. They took that risk, and we educated them and said, we went down and explained to them the pros and cons of doing that, right? And what they did is they did that. They probably 2 or 3 months, I think it was, they got a new roof on there, and they took that risk, and they continued with the house, and they got insured, and is no big deal. So it was a nice story how it ended up. But some people are very risk averse, and some are not. So that's it comes down to it, right? It's, what kind of a cowboy are you? Are you the cowboy that walks around with no guns or too many guns? I don't know. It all depends. You know what I mean, right?
Well, totally. I also have to say, there are properties that are not insurable. So let's use that as an example. If a property is not insurable, then our job, our responsibility is to have created enough, what should I call them? We call them gates, but also we have guards on these gates. So when you're going through a transaction, there are several gates. There's a gate on insurability. There's a gate that you go through with inspections. There's a gate that you go through for finance. There's a gate that you go through for a final walkthrough. Those are gates, but we also have guards, and every one of those gates. You like this analogy? I'm going with guards on the gates.
Guards and gates. I like
guards. So the guard. Here's what the guards do. The guards are the things that we add to a contract that give you an out. So insurability, for example, at least in the state of California, if you can't find insurance, if a property is not insurable, we have that as a safety gate for you to be able to get out of the contract. So we get you out of the contract, you get your deposit back, we can start over. We can always start over and find the right property that is insurable. What do you think about that?
I think that's awesome. I think one of the main things that we do actually when we're working with buyers is we want to make certain that that property is already insured, right? So if it's a home or that's being already occupied, then it's very easy to, even before you go to contract, to ask those basic questions. Are you currently insured? When was your last wind mitigation? When was your last inspection? When did those kind of questions will give you it's a good litmus test to see where you're at, and like, okay, this property's already insured and we should be okay, things like that. It's also good to look at the insurance company, because a lot of insurance companies, especially in Florida, they stop writing insurance in Florida completely. So you have to just do that due diligence for the client, to give them that information. And at the end of the day, they're going to make the decision that's best for them, right? But they are the ones that are going to have the education, like you said, work with a professional, and that's the best way to go, because we're going to guide you. We're going to ask those questions that normally you wouldn't ask, and you don't have time to ask. I mean, you need to. The whole purpose of working with a professional, I would think, is that you need to not skip a beat in your current life. You have to continue enjoying your life, continue going to work, make your money, spend time with your family, and let us bear the burden of all the nuances and that happen in a real estate transaction. That's why you hire a professional. Otherwise, what's the point? If you're hiring someone to do DIY, don't hire them. Just do the DIY. So that's my perspective on that.
Well, I love it, and you also triggered me to remember to say this. We have a responsibility to, and this falls in line with tips and tricks and things that you should try to find for yourself. So you need to find yourself an insurance person or insurance broker that has many resources. And one thing that we've been proactively doing is calling our insurance vendors up front the moment somebody tells us they're interested in a property. For example, in Napa Valley, we had a great friend of mine calls me right now. Let's call him Mike, because his name really is Mike. Mike owns let me not say what he owns, because I don't want people to connect the dots, but he owns a large company here in the Valley. Let's say it's a large construction company in the construction vertical. So Mike owns a large construction company. He calls me yesterday and he says, Jerry, I'm really interested in this particular property in the country, in Napa, really beautiful upscale area. But the first call that we're going to make is going to be made to the insurance broker specifically for that area, because the fires came very close to that particular area of the Napa Valley. So we want to check for insurability, and we want to check if it's even possible. And number two, what are the costs? Also, one thing that's happening over here is taking 7 to 14 days to get a quote on insurance. So we're also learning that when we write an offer, we also put in there that the buyer reserves the right to approve the quote of the insurance, because the quote might be so high. We got a quote on insurance on a particular property yesterday, Carlos, on a $2 million home. The quote was close to $40,000 a year for insurance. So guess what? The buyer's not moving forward on that transaction. That was way outside of their budget. This buyer's buying this property cash. But even at that, the buyer says, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to hold back. I'm going to pull back, or I'm going to buy another property in a zone that's not as impacted or affected. So that transaction's being canceled. It happens. The buyer's really impressed with the work that we've done, and then they're going to go out and buy something else. So you should always align yourself with somebody that can get you out, that has those guards. Do you like that, Carlos? That has those guards on the gates protecting you. So before you go through that gate, somebody rings the bell. Somebody has to ring the bell. And if it's time to pull out of the transaction, work with somebody that's not afraid to give up a commission to get you into the right property. And here's another thing. When I go into giving up a commission, also align yourself with somebody that works for much more than just a commission. I think it's important for people to understand that there are people that actually do the real estate business for the right reasons, and is to do the right thing for the clients and have clients for life. And the only way that you do that is by always putting the client first. If you put the client first, we live, Carlos, we joke around the fact that we live and die by reviews. We live and die by what our clients say about us. The fact that we have over 400 of those online is something that we carry like a badge of honor. We're super proud of that. And the only way people are going to say that or say positive things like that is if you do the right thing. I see at times, unfortunately, I see people trying to fit square pegs in a round hole and things like that. Carlos, you should have seen the listing agent on the other side of the transaction and his client, who is an attorney, trying to creatively force this transaction through. I mean, the things that they were going to come up with, we'll lease the property back to you. We have this creative idea. We'll split the cost of the insurance with you for the first year. Well, what happens to our client for the life of the insurance? And what happens because there's something, let's go into defensible space. And I don't know if this is something that you deal with a lot in Florida, because I don't know that you guys have these forests that we have here. Here, defensible space is the area of anything around your property that might ignite. So if you have trees too close to the home, if you have bark is highly, highly combustible. If you have all those things right up to your home, you have to pull it back within a certain number of feet. In some areas it's 20 feet, some areas it's 50 feet. But when you're in the middle of a forest with redwood trees and things like that, and redwood trees that are protected, or you have oak trees that are protected, now you have some things, some hurdles to cross, and you better be working with somebody that understands how to navigate that, because defensible space is something that will be even later something that insurance companies can throw at you. So you might get insurance, but a year or two when they come inspect the property, because they may not have inspected it up front, they may knock on your door and say, guess what? This is what's going to be required for us to keep you.
And it's funny, insurance companies do that all the time. Not only, I'm sure that something similar to that here. I mean, when they re-inspect your home, they may see something that they'll contact you and they'll say, you better correct this, or we're dropping the policy. So it's not like you get insurance once and do whatever you want, modifications to your home, or don't worry about this. It's a constant thing. But you know what I found, Jerry, to be quite honest with you, it's a secret that every time we come across these insurance challenges, right? It's a very secret that I'm going to share with the entire world right now. And I think that if anyone has any sort of insurance issue, the first thing they need to do is play this video.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, good.
Okay, man. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, I'm sorry, but here it goes. Alegre vengo de la
montaña.
De mi caña, alegre está.
Amigos, les
traigo flores de las mejores de mi rosa.
But then you go into.
So, anyways, how'd you like that segue? How'd you like that segue?
Way to break it up, man. I think I think we covered insurance fairly well. If people have further questions when it comes to insurance, I would say reach out to us directly, and you can speak directly to the people that we have as resources for you. So you can speak directly to them. We always pride ourselves in putting our clients in contact with the best people so they can make the best decisions. So we have those available. That doesn't cost you anything. I know this sounds a little bit like a commercial, but it's the truth, and it's a fact.
A lot. Yeah. But I like
Unleashed.
All right, Jerry.
Yeah, are you going to cut me off already? Or
No. If you want to continue pontificating, you can pontificate. I'll keep on agreeing.
I love it.
It's all good information. So I
love it.
Listen, remember the old hair club for men?
Yes.
I'm also, what is it? I'm not a client, but I'm also a client, right? So I've drank from the Kool-Aid. I've drank from the Napa Kool-Aid and from the Miami Kool-Aid. So
I'm not only the CEO. I'm also a client.
That's it, buddy.
God. Let's talk about hair plugs for a second.
Oh my God.
So I've been thinking about getting them.
Dude, and, why?
I'm just messing with you.
You know what? Maybe you should. I think you should get one hair plug and put it right dab smack here and just let it go like a trenza, and you can braid it and just that'll be super cool. I will get.
For those of you who don't know what a trenza is, it's a braid.
A braid. So I think looking at market placement and setting ourselves apart from the quote unquote competition, I think that if you turn into the only real estate broker with one hair plug in the center of your forehead, braid it down, you will be.
That's the guy with the hair plug. The guy with the hair plug braids.
The guy with the braid. Yeah, he's great. The guy with the braid.
He's amazing. He's amazing. Oh my God.
Did you ever think of letting your hair? Now that we get older, hair starts growing in places that we don't want it to grow, and where we want it to grow, it doesn't grow. So did you ever think about doing a braid with? How's your nose hair going? You ever think about doing a braid there? Ever tried that?
Nose fro and ear froze.
Yeah.
The guy who's making the nose fro, who's bringing the nose froze back. Oh my God.
All right, so let's jump into the real world, into real life. We were talking about something this week, right? And obviously we don't mention names to protect the innocent. But we came up with a topic, And I'll be honest with you. I think if we start recording our FaceTime conversations, they are amazing. They'll be great content, But unfortunately, a lot of sensitive information is passed back and forth, and we'd have to be doing a lot of editing, right, to protect those, since we don't have permission to speak about them, so on and so forth. But I was talking about, and I put forth my belief on how we should treat each other as human beings, right? That people that you care about. And I think that someone that you care about and that you are really aligned with that person, I think that we need to, beyond being there for that person and beyond supporting that person, we should be stewards of that person. So I heard something this week that really resonated with me, and it had to do with a gentleman, a very tenured business person that has been in the corporate world for a million years, right? And this individual, I was telling you that his key for success and getting along and being successful is that he gave the analogy, in every boardroom that I've been a member of, we would fight like cats and dogs, disagree. I would disagree vocally if I had a disagreement, and I would agree whenever I had to agree. Anyway, so it was a lot of back and forth. However, when those two big proverbial doors of the boardroom opened up and those board members were forward facing, he would never, ever throw any board member under the bus, say that their idea is less than. So whatever they agreed upon, they were on the same page, even if he was a staunch opposition of that specific idea or whatever was being pushed forward, right? And he says that served him so well over the years, and it really gave the board confidence in him that you have to be a team player. So I looked at that and applying it to our personal lives, that we should be stewards of each other with that same care, right? So behind closed doors, we can share something sensitive, we can disagree, we can whatever, but the last thing we need to do is, outside of those closed doors, tell someone else, oh, you know what, I can't believe I had this thing with Jerry, and he was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and blah, blah. That's something, if it's that important, Jerry should be in that conversation. Just I don't know, it may be stupid, but I was thinking about that, and then you don't find that very common in today's world.
No, I don't think it's stupid at all. I often listen to a podcast. I'll plug it because it's called Trail Runner Nation, because I've really been getting a lot into running.
Jerry, if they're not paying for sponsorship, we don't plug. We'll talk about that in the boardroom. We'll talk about it in the boardroom in a little while.
We're very generous. If you like to run, and even if you don't like to run, what these guys talk about, and they have great. I feel like you and I, we're just getting started down this road. These guys have been doing it for 10 or 12 years. They've been doing this podcast, and you should watch it, Carlo, because their chemistry, and they're not even primos, which means cousins for those of you who don't know, but they are, they're friends and they have great chemistry. They run together, and people that run long distances together have a lot of opportunity to talk, because once you can run well, you can actually talk and run, which is something that I'm finally noticing, because that wasn't that way when I started. But one thing that they say is that the reason that they do that podcast, and the reason they also run these long distances, is not just to become better athletes. They do that to become better people. So, the more that we take care of ourselves, I think the better we become for ourselves, but the better we become for others. And when you and I were talking about that, and you were just talking about that just now, the one thing that I heard is that, the people that you care about, I think it's the most beautiful when you can really be honest with them. And when you can say, hey, and to your analogy, or that person's analogy, in the boardroom, we can say, hey, this is that, and I said it. And also that in the boardroom, there's an opportunity to apologize for misspeaking, that there's an opportunity for healing, and there's an opportunity for that. And I think that's the best case scenario for all of us, because we're all going to make mistakes. That day is never going to stop for any of us, as long as we're breathing.
100%.
Right? And it's a great thing to have these relationships that we get to have, and we get to be, if I go to you and I say, hey, I'm having I've been married for, like you, a million years, I can't believe I'm I'm closer to 40 years being married than 30. So that's insane, right? When you think about that.
So what year are you in now?
I'm hitting 36 in April.
Wow, we hit 30 in December.
Yeah, so when you're closer to 40 than to 30, that says something, right? So when you know, if I'm speaking to you and you know that I've been married that long, and I say, listen, this thing that's, if you and I are in that boardroom and all of a sudden I need to confine because today I didn't want to go to talk therapy and you're my friend, my cousin, my brother, my relative, anything. And I say, hey, listen, this is going on at home and I don't know how to handle this situation with Susan. I don't think a good friend's job is to say, I think you should get out. I think you should quit. I think it'd be nice if you, hey man, you are the man. You do everything right. Why do you put up with that? I think a real friend would say, okay, how is it that you're looking and how did you come up with that conclusion? And can you be missing something? Because a friend is there to call you out, not just tell you what you want to hear. And I think too many friendships are based on just the ego, right? The, hey man, you're the best. Hey man, you're wonderful. Hey, you're perfect. Everything you do is great. But then unfortunately they go back to behind doors. Oh, here's what Billy did, or here's what Mary did.
So I think that we were talking about that, and that's great that you brought this up, is that I think that the deficiencies in individuals' lives makes them happy since they can fill their own void to create a void for someone else. Do you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I'm unhappy, whatever, can you let me make so and so? Yeah, but you know, you don't know about him as an example. Do you know what I mean? So I think that stoicism is missing in these interpersonal relationship connections that many people have, and that's why I'm proud to say I don't have a million friends, but I have a bunch of acquaintances. But people that I call friends, it's a handful of individuals.
Very special group. Yeah.
Yes, and then you have to know your audience. So you have to know your audience. If you don't want something to be shared, don't share it. Number one. And I gave you an analogy that you went into the weeds. You were looking too much into it. But the point I was trying to make during the conversation yesterday is that you should not align yourself with people that are not in your same journey. And I don't mean that this is from a selfish, like, oh, that person's successful, let me be friends with them because, you know, they can help me out. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, if you're on the journey, let's use the example of the marriage that you just said right now. So if you're on this marriage journey and you are on it, the last thing you want is to be aligned with someone. And again, there's nothing wrong with someone not believing in marriage, like a single person. It's okay to have single friends. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying if you have a proponent, an antagonist against marriage, always putting in your ear how bad marriage is, you need to get out. I know that. If you have that constantly in your ear, then you're aligning yourself with someone that is not beneficial to your journey.
Could it affect you, right? It could.
Of course it could. If you have someone every day in your ear, oh, what happened with Susan? Oh my God. You know, and hey, listen, I don't put up with that BS. You know,
she's awful.
Carlos,
no, that's awful.
Yeah, Carlos, what happened? What happened, Marta? Oh, no, what? Yeah, no, listen, you got to get out of that, man. I mean, marriage is not, you know. Anyways, and you can apply that.
Can I tell you something that I love about you, man?
What?
I love the way you speak about your wife, man. I just love that. I just think it's the most special thing that I've ever heard. The way that you speak, the way that you champion what she does. Your wife has characteristics like mine that are very all or nothing. We just go in and we go hard. And you know, for people like us, we do best when we have a champion around us. We really, because we can really explore and we can really express ourselves. And it's such a beautiful thing that you do for her. I'm not trying to make myself look as good as Marta, but I am saying that it's a beautiful thing. And I think Susan does the same thing for me.
She does.
You know, and it's. I don't think I'm gonna be honest though. She's not as expressive about it as you are. I just think it's beautiful that you're very expressive. But Susan does it by the way she makes me feel, you know, and I feel appreciated, man. I think it's wonderful. You know, you and Susan are very similar in that you're calming forces and you bring that to your relationship. But I think how we speak about each other and then how we speak to our friend, like how I'm speaking to you right now about Marta, is a very sincere, a heartfelt, wonderful analogy of what I see as this human being that just also lives and breathes for. I mean, I love the way she looks at you, man. She just freaking melts. And I think Susan said, you know what I noticed with Susan? I know how much Susan loves me when I see a photo of her and I, and it's usually the way that she's looking at me, and a photo that I'm usually not even aware anybody's around me because I'm so egotistical that I think I'm the most important thing in that photo. Susan looks at me and I just thought, God, how lucky am I that somebody cares that much about me, which in turn makes me just love her to the umps of the world. It's like, wow, I have a person that cares so much about me. How lucky am I? That doesn't happen for a lot of people, man. I don't think that happens to 50% of the people.
No, and that's a challenge to find someone like that. It's a diamond in the rough in this world, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I always tell my wife often, I go, listen, I think you were God literally made you for me.
Yeah,
Like,
I believe that. I believe that.
and she always tells me, and I hate this conversation, she goes, oh, if something ever happens to me, I want you to move on and get married. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So
That
that's a tall order.
number one, I don't want to talk about that, but if we have to, this is my last marriage in this on planet Earth.
Yeah.
No, but you can't do that to yourself. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. And number one, who's gonna put in another 30 plus years just to get to a good spot I'm not investing that in anyone else other than her. So anything I have, any love, anything I have for marriage, it's happening with you right here, right now, for as long as we're gonna be on this earth. And if something happens to you, I'm sorry. I can't picture that. It just doesn't compute.
Well, and let's look. I'm going to look right at the lens because I'm speaking to our small and humbling audience. I just heard Bill Burr say something the other day. Sometimes I just zone out to listening to Bill Burr rant. You know who Bill Burr is, right?
Yeah.
And he's just a comedian who just rants and rants about things, and a lot of the things that he says make sense. And what I would say to anybody, if you're living with somebody where you're questioning every day what the future holds for you and you're just miserable and it's just, life is short, consider that and try to figure out and work through that. But if you're wanting to put in the work and your person's wanting to put in the work, then it's more than likely worth it. It's more than likely worth putting in the work, because this whole thing and the way that Carlos and I are talking about our significant others didn't come with an insane amount of work on both parts. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there because I don't want anybody to think or feel that just being in this place where we find ourselves now didn't come with a lot of struggle, a lot of drudgery, a lot of challenges.
Yes.
And
it's a challenge. It's
what makes it, but it's what makes it the most beautiful, right?
100%. And it's and we're not talking about it from a thing. But it's if you think the grass is greener, then water your own grass. Water your own grass.
Yeah.
If you think the grass is greener somewhere else, water your own grass. And I learned that later in life. And you can apply it to business. You can apply it to interpersonal relationships. You can apply it to whatever you want. But if you think the grass is greener, so for example, if you think your business it's horrible, I got to do something else, I'm going to shut this down. Stop, reassess, take a step back and say, how can I water my business right now? What can I do differently? Can I get someone that's aligned in this space to help me? Same thing with your marriage. If you're in a marriage and a relationship that's not working out, or you think it's not working out, go speak to a professional marriage counselor. Maybe speak to a relative that has a successful relationship and say, listen, can I get some feedback? Can you give me some guidance, versus just aligning yourself with someone or accepting the advice from someone that is not aligned? Like, oh yeah, get out of that marriage, man. It's a dead end. You don't need to hear that, because in life it's easy to quit everything. Think about it, right, Jerry? It's easy to quit anything. It's so easy.
The easiest thing to do is quit.
But sticking to it and the rewards are like David Goggins always says, and I'm paraphrasing here, I forgot his exact words, but it's something along the lines where there's greatness or there's happiness or there's bliss right after you go through the pain, whatever it is. Yeah. And so whatever the pain is of running, of whatever, speaking of pain, another segue. This aligns with everything we're talking about, sticking with something. And you've been on an amazing journey. And it's just, we need a whole week of podcast to talk about it.
I was going to say, we can do that one on the next one, but
okay.
But go ahead and just maybe
tell us. We'll deep dive into it later. But I'm always impressed by you're always pushing yourself physically to do a challenge. Just give us a 10-15 second recap of what you did, and we'll dig into it next episode of where you went, what you did, and just tell us. I love it.
So it's funny. I just recently completed my first marathon at 57 years old, but what I was very proud of, the most proud of, is that that it was a trail run in Catalina Island off the coast of Long Beach in California, and it took almost 7 hours because it's climbing altitude and running really faster than I've ever ran on flats and down hills. And 7 hours out there came with a lot of coaching and a lot of help with people that understood nutrition and the things that you have to do to fuel yourself so you can stay at peak performance for 7 hours at 57 years old, a guy that's not necessarily been any type of athlete or anything like that. So I'm very proud of that. I can get into more of the paradigms and the things that I learned from that journey on the next one, Carlos. I love to talk about that because it applies to so many things.
Yes.
Right now, I'm just nursing a twisted ankle, a sprained ankle that happened just walking my dog in the dog park the other day.
Yeah.
You can do 7 hours of rugged terrain for 26.2 miles, but then walking the dog, you just roll your ankle, and I'm out of commission.
or getting out of bed.
It's just the way it is, and hence that's life.
Yeah.
Hence that's life. But now I just signed up for a 50K, which is 32 miles, maybe a little bit over 32 miles. I'm going to look forward to doing in July in the area of Truckee, which is close to Lake Tahoe in Nevada. Well, Truckee is in California. I don't know if you know, but Lake Tahoe is split by California and Nevada, almost right down the middle. And I'm going to be on the California side, but it's a beautiful, beautiful terrain. Much more challenging in distance, but much more challenging in terrain, and way more challenging in altitude because we'll be running around 6,000, 7, maybe 8,000 feet elevation. So I'm going to have to train for altitude as well. Looking forward to it, man. Just another one of those challenges in life that we want to push through. And you said something that really aligned with me a minute ago, which is the most beauty is on the other side of that. The other side of that pain is just blissful. And completing that 26.2 miles with a smile on my face was probably one of the most I don't want to use the word orgasmic, but
you used it. But
I had to. It was one of the most beautiful experiences ever, man. I would encourage anybody, but it takes putting one foot in front of the other. You know that it was only about 2 years I was thinking of back surgery, 2 bulge discs, didn't go for the surgery, went for the physical therapy, had a great guy that had a lot of patience to help put me back together. And again, surrounding yourself with the right people.
That's awesome. I guess it's one of those things, and I want to do that one day. It's one of those things that we've been looking at it all our lives, right? We've all watched a multitude of different races growing up on TV, in person, whatever. The guy on the bike doing the 5 million miles and the triathlon, the guy getting out and crossing the finish line, and not just the first guy, anyone crossing the finish line. Yeah. It's a look and a feel that you can kind of assume what they're going through, but it's something that you probably have to live, right? So that comparison,
the fact that you have the fact that you have that in you, it just says what you're made of. A lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of people come to me and say, when they ask me what I did or how that went, they say I could never. And the response to that for me is usually you're probably right. If you come to me and you say I could never. The answer is usually you're probably right, because the minute you're telling yourself you could never,
it's over.
It's over.
It's over. And yeah, man, I think that's super inspiring. I've always that you inspire me, and people that do what you do inspire me. And that it resonates. Like it's just crazy, and you don't intend to do it. You don't intend to inspire people on purpose, but I love that stuff when people try to push that their limits. And think they can't do something and then do it. It's what a feeling. It's
a lot of this, on a personal note, a lot of this came from, a meeting that, I was in a pretty tough place, a couple of years ago, and we had a meeting with our cousins, and we were all having a good time and having wine and doing all this. And I literally walked out of there thinking, something's got to change. Something's got to change. And I've never been known to not take a challenge. Usually in business, I take challenges, I take risks, but for some reason I was very sedentary with myself and I wasn't taking challenges and risks. And I thought, God, if I can feel the pain of business, if I can feel the pain of all these other things that I take on, why don't I just work through the pain of helping myself. And there was a moment when we parted ways on that trip 2 years ago. After we all left there, I felt really inspired. Like there's got to be a change in me to and I have to take ownership, and I can't keep blaming my circumstances, because if anything, at this point in my life, I'm quite privileged, through a lot of work and a lot of self-realization, but I'm privileged. We can't keep assuming that we just roll over because we're 57 years old and we're supposed to just decline.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And you have that same fire in your belly. It's wired in you. That's what inspires me about you, is that you go into the fire, my cousin. You don't run from the fire. You just walk right into it. And that's the difference, man. I think that's the difference in the people that we align with. I've always found an affinity to aligning with people that walk into the fire, and I'm just lucky for that.
Yeah, same ditto. And it's not, sometimes it's a badge of honor, like the way you say it, but it's really not. It's just a way of life.
The way of being.
Sometimes you're brought up like that. Sometimes you learn to be like that because of life circumstances. Sometimes a combination of both.
Hey, the last thing I'd love to share with you on that point, because I don't want to leave it out, is it wasn't until I was like 55 when I went through that tough thing that I was going through.
Yeah.
With my closest members of my family.
Yeah.
I also realized that I can't change anybody. I kept thinking that I can change people, and at that moment, I realized that it was me that had to make the change. And by me making the change, then I hear words like "you're beautiful," generous, words of that I may inspire some things in you. I can't believe that I'm inspiring some things in them just by being that different thing. It's just, this is the only thing I can change, man, is this thing right here.
But you have to be inspired. I think to be a person that other stimuli inspire you from the outside world, you have to be open to growth, because that's a difference between the critics and those that are not even in the arena, marred with blood and sweat and tears. That's
beautifully said, man. That's really well
seriously
said.
Because if I'm not open to growth and open that there's better ways and inspired by life, then I would be a critic taking your story saying, yeah, what a show off. I don't know. Someone always has some crap to talk about when someone else is achieving something. And those are the people, unfortunately, that have some massive voids in their lives. And that the only way that they can fill it is with artificial, but look at that, and I think that's a difference. So you can't inspire someone that does not have a predisposition to be inspired. And I'm not saying that they have to go into the world, I want to be inspired. No, it's how they are, right? Because they don't have to be at any specific socioeconomic level. They don't have to be anywhere. They just have to be open.
And they have the power to change.
Yes, you have to be open to growth. Yeah. And then things like this, other people are like, I'm open to that. So that's why you inspire me. Different David Goggins, whoever is doing something incredible. I'm like, man, that's inspirational. Even people that's not on a non-physical feat scenario, right? Anything else, whatever it may be. Yeah. I think that's important.
In words and communication and talking, and uplifting rather than dragging down. How many of you out there have family members that are the people that bring you down?
Yeah.
Those are tough challenges, and some of you can't escape them because they live in your house and you can't change the situation. I that pains me, that people have to go through things like that, and we've all been there in one way, shape, or form at one time or another. It's never been just right. It's just life. But let's turn to uplift this thing so we can get closer to a close and say goodbye to all those that have watched us for this length of time, which I think takes its own set of special skills to stay with this for long enough to get to this message. And man, what are you doing this coming week? Because I got some pretty cool things coming.
Dude, our house is under construction. It's, as you already know, so it's like I'm living like a nomad.
I was wondering if I can get that out of you.
Yeah, so I'm living in little corners of the house as I'm able to. So hopefully that'll be over with. We're getting ready for a wedding, like our oldest is getting married.
Can't wait.
And my wife is doing a shower, a tea party here at the house in 2 weeks, and we have construction going on. So yeah.
Keep an eye out for that case of wine. It should be arriving.
Yes.
If not this
I don't-
week, early next week, it's on it, and it's on its way.
I know you sent it to my son, but you made a big mistake sending it to me. Just letting you know that.
I know you're a man of your word.
But I will explain to him that in California, a case of wine is considered 3 bottles of wine. It's just it is what it is.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's a cake.
You gotta pay the dad
Different.
tax. You gotta pay the dad tax. I'm sorry, buddy. This is
That's
like the
right.
mafia.
It's got
This is like the mafia. You have to kick up. You got a case of wine, you kick up like 6 bottles to the head of the family. What's wrong with you?
I love it, man.
But yeah, no, we're excited, and then we're dealing. We have a bunch of transactions in escrow, some challenges, and we'll talk about that in the next episode. I was going to talk to you about a challenge we went through this week, which will be open your eyes. You'll be like, "What? That really happens in Miami?" So I'm going to wait till that's resolved to talk about it, even though I won't mention names and things like that, but just to let that pass. But that's it. All good. Hey, all great problems. These are all first world problems, and I welcome any problems we have as long as they have to do with health and happiness. Everything else has a solution, brother.
I love it, man.
You tell me.
I'm going to head out to the Sierra Nevadas with Jerry Jr. Probably on Monday, going to head out on our van and just go explore a little more. My ankle, I'm going to baby it, so I'm probably going to wrap it, do some mild, I'm not even going to call it hiking. I'm going to call it walking. But we're going to spend some time exploring the Sierra Nevadas. There's also some hot springs that we're going to do. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. I am going to leave on Tuesday because Monday I'm taking Susan to Calistoga, which is probably one of the world's premier spa locations for mud baths, enzyme baths, massages, so we're going to do the whole kit and caboodle, a whole day of self-care because Susan deserves it. She's working hard for her clients in these transactions, and I'm going to surprise her with that. So hopefully this airs after Monday, but if it doesn't, she probably doesn't even watch it, so I'm okay. She's so busy in her real estate career that she doesn't have a lot of time, so I'm okay saying it. If she hears it, it's going to be booked today anyway. So that's going to be it, man. I'm looking forward to that. I want to also remind those that Carlos and I are incented by appreciation. So if you appreciate this channel, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. It helps us more than you know, and it keeps us moving forward and pumped to give you more information. So,
right. And let me know that this is our first high-tech episode on a legitimate high-tech platform. I'm sorry, I don't know if anybody noticed all the little bells and whistles, but I did.
Let us know.
Let us know if you like the new format. Let us know if you like the little scroll, I love it. I'm in love with it. I'm in love with us, bro. I drank the Kool-Aid, buddy. I drank the Kool-Aid. Did you get my secret?
The multiple cameras on studio is it's a level up big time.
No, it's huge. Hey, I sent you a super top secret chat in this. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Come on, Jerry.
You send me a chat.
Yeah, we can communicate back and forth. This is high tech, buddy.
Oh,
buddy, Joe Rogan has nothing on us. Joe Rogan has nothing on us.
I had it moved a little bit too far to the right and it chopped half of it. But dude, this is good. This is really good. Thank you.
Absolutely. So listen, we appreciate everyone joining us. We hope we laughed a little bit. Hopefully
have an amazing week.
Have an amazing week. We wish you all the best. You have any questions for any real estate issues in Miami, you know where to find me. And if you have any questions for any real estate issues in Napa, you know where to find Jerry. And you can always find us here, trying to laugh, trying to learn, and trying to live life as best we can. See ya.
Primo Real Estate Channel.
Unleashed. Bye.